Hello friends, I am Manish Maharshi, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Dungal College, Bikaner. In the previous video, we discussed the brief history of English literature till Victorian period. Today, we will try to understand in a little detail about Victorian age, its social, economic, political and literary condition, and other aspects of the age that make it a very special period in a context. Queen Victoria ascended the throne of England at the age of 18, but with her talents and qualities, she proved to be a very successful ruler. The age of literate, the age of this period was named after her. Victorian period is known for its peace and prosperity. England during this time was a very peaceful and prosperous country due to the belief in unlimited progress. People of England at that time, and in that case whole of the Europe, tried to gain as much as material wealth as is possible, and due to the stable and wise ruler in England who provided the peaceful environment needed for the economic growth, England became one of the richest country of that time. The British traders ransacked the whole world for new businesses, and they moved all over the world to gain the prosperity that was their sole mission at that time. These things gave rise to the patriotic feeling, and the overwhelming patriotic feeling of the people of that time gave them impetus to conquer the whole world through business. The British Navy, the English Navy at that time was one of the most powerful navy force, and England had its colonies in every part of the world, be it be it Canada, Australia, New Zealand, North Africa, South Africa, China, America, Ireland, and India. It is said during this time that sun never sets in British Empire. The prosperity of the people in this age allowed them to establish industries in every part of the country. In this period, there was a kind of rat race to establish new industries and to create the maximum industrial production and become as much as prosperous as is possible. It, this production, this setup of industries gave rise to a new workforce that came into existence for the first time, as they were before them there was no industrial workforce. There were basically farmers, soldiers, or some sort of workers who were doing the works assigned by the state of that time. The cluster of the industrial towns started growing in various parts of the country. Due to the regular income, a new class came into existence, and the number of this class was ever increasing with the industrial growth. Later on, this new class competed with the aristocracy of the country, and various sort of new development started in the country. Industrial revolution with its prosperity also brought the most ugly town of that time. The industrialists ransacked the whole earth for the natural resources, and they never cared about that whether these resources will be available to them for forever or not, but they were only interested in using these resources as much as is possible for their own benefit. Nature was crushed at its optimum level. Nobody cared about nature, earth, or forest. The only thing that they cared about was the prosperity they were getting from these industries. Victorian age was an age of reform and stabilization of the society. There were reform in factories, towns and villages, and in fact in all departments of life. The major reforms that took place during this era were the Factory Act of 1833, the Chimney Sweep Act of 1840, the hero of the factory legislation of the Lord Ashley, Earl of Shaftesbury, who fought the for the for the welfare of the small children who were working in these factories as chimney sweepers. In 1840, the government passed a bill to prohibit the employment of chimney sweeps. Then there was Mine Acts of 1842. The condition of mine workers was terrible. They were working in inhumane conditions. Small boys and girls were worked with grown-up men and women under pathetic state. The Parliament passed the Mines Act in 1842 prohibiting the work of women and children under 13 in mines. In 1847, Ashley succeeded in getting the 10 hours bill passed, which limited the labor of women and young persons in factories to 10 hours per day. Then there was the Poor Law of 1834, the Public Health Act of 1848, in this act set up a public health board in London and local boards in various places. Chadwick's Act was the prelude to many public reforms. Then there was Municipal Corporation Act of 1835. The Municipal Corporation Act introduced a single type of town council to be elected by all male ratepayers who resided within the 7 miles of the borough. The employment of officers, mayor, clerk, treasurer was made regular, and there was to be a systematic audit of the accounts. By these measures, the government of the towns was improved. Then the emancipation of slaves in 1833. Men like Clarkson and Wilberforce had worked for the overthrow of slavery, and their first great triumph was the abolition of the slave trade in 1807. Lord Grey's government passed the Act of Emancipation of the Slaves in Parliament. All these and many other various reforms gave rise to the concept of liberalism in society, and later on these reforms were these reforms became the main stands for the rise of democratic feeling in the country. The most important happening of this age was coming of the book of Origin of Species and Descent of Man in 1859 by Charles Darwin. These books shocked the very foundation of the society and even changed the outlook of the world for them. Charles Darwin, with his various experiments, proved that man is not descent of God, and instead of God, he is the descent of animal kingdom. Man is the result of a gradual development of millions and millions of years through various processes and through various stages is he came to be like the man he is at the present. Before this theory, people believed in the religious theory of godly creation for themselves. They believed that Adam and Eve are their forefathers, but this theory uprooted their ideas and belief. They found themselves nowhere, and a state of utter confusion started to prevail in the psyche of the men of this period. As we all know that human beings cannot live without faith, and their faith which was very deep rooted in their psyche has been uprooted by this theory of evolution. Every other feature of this age is the byproduct of this theory of evolution by Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin, during the course of his scientific expedition in South America observed near resemblance between animals of neighboring latitudes and between existing species and fossils of a recent date. On return to England, he studied the problem of artificial selection by breeders of domestic animals. In 1838, he read Malthus' Essay on Population. Darwin built up the hypothesis that there is a struggle for existence among the species, that variations, if favorable to the struggle, would become emphasized, if unfavorable, would lead to the extinction of the individual or type retaining them. This is the theory of natural selection or survival of the fittest. In 1859 appeared his epoch-making book on the origin of species by means of natural selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life, and in 1871 the descent of man. By innumerable facts and arguments, he built up the theory of the evolution of man from the ape in the ascending scale of creation, that is, the process of creation produces better and better form of life. The theory of evolution cut at the roots of the Christian faith. It resulted in a sad withering away of faith, and a paralysis of doubt gripped it. The basis of European civilization till now had been a belief in the first sin and the fall of man, and in the redemption of man through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Slowly, Western Europe realized the shock that this theory had given. The idea of evolution ran counter to the biblical theory of creation. According to the Bible, the world was created in 6 days, and the various kinds of living things, plants and beasts and birds and fishes were created during these days. The evolution theory raised two disconcerting questions. The succession of life indicated that the act of creation must have been thousands and perhaps millions of years. It could not have completed in 6 days. Each species was not created separately, but there was a scale of life, and man was only a link of the chain of evolution, ever leading to higher and more complex form of life. If these conclusions were taken seriously, they are astounding. If all the animals and man have evolved in ascendant manner, then there had been no Garden of Eden, no sin, no fall, and if there was no fall, there was no necessity for the Son of God to have taken birth for the redemption of man. Thus, the very divinity of Christ and the validity of Christian ethics was challenged. The Church fiercely opposed this theory, and the controversy raged for 30 years. But the theory shattered old beliefs and ushered in an age of doubt and despair. As we have already seen that due to the evolutionary theories, there was gripping pessimism and doubt in the psyche of the people of this age. They were not able to have faith in anything, as the basic faith has been uprooted, and there was nothing on which they can put their faith, and they can be optimistic about. The scientific development has not been of that level, so that they can put their faith in that sort of development. The Victorian period was a time of contradiction, often referred to as the Victorian Compromise. On the one hand, there was the progress brought about by the Industrial Revolution, the rising wealth of the upper and middle classes, and the expanding power of Britain and its empire. On the other hand, there was the poverty, disease, deprivation, and injustice faced by the working classes. The change brought about by the Industrial Revolution was rapid. Towns and cities grew up at an incredible pace as new factories and industries were started, and thousands of people moved to the cities for work. The inventions, developments, and new industries showed how advanced the country was and how it was a world power. The upper classes continued to prosper, and the middle classes had the possibility to improve themselves and their fortunes. Under Queen Victoria's reign, the value of the church, family, home were fundamental. The family unit was based about the authoritarian father with the mother in a submissive role. Morality and respectability were key, and society became almost puritanical. Monuments and buildings were constructed to celebrate civic identity and pride. Philanthropy and charity were important, so libraries, wash houses, and swimming baths were also built to allow members of the working class to improve themselves. However, in reality, this was hardly possible. The mortality rate, diseases, deprivation faced by the working class in Victorian towns and cities across the country were some of the worst in the civilized world. People were forced to live in overcrowded rooms in degraded slums with a lack of hygiene. Young children were forced to work, for example, in the textile mills, mines, and chimney sweeps, and poverty and debts were considered crime to punish with imprisonment.